Welcome, welcome everyone to Intellectual Month 2022. This year we have a few challenges for you all, and we're going to focus on clarity and also growth. So we'll start the growth track next Sunday, hopefully. If you saw the event, it's called Growth Plan Setting Series, GPS series. So go and join that one as well. But this is a challenge for the entire month. And we have, under clarity, we have 3 tracks you can choose from. Apparently everyone wants to do everything. The reason I made them into tracks is for you to choose just 1 or 2. You don't need to do them all this month. You can do the other challenges in the following months, because there's a lot involved in this, especially with the journaling. There's writing and the creativity. There's going to be creating music, writing poetry, whatever you like. But with this one, this is going to take a lot of work, especially this week, because what we're actually doing with this one is getting clarity. And to get clarity, we have to empty our minds and really understand what's going on in there first. So this week, it's mostly what I call mental and digital declutter, because we really need to understand where this overwhelm is coming from, why do we feel this overload and confusion in a lot of cases. So I'm gonna see if I can share my screen or I can talk. Let's see. Give me a moment here. Okay. So more people joining. Okay, so when we talk about the mind, the mind is a very powerful tool. I repeat, it's a tool that we use. As long as we use it properly, it's gonna make tremendous and fundamental changes in our lives. But the problem is when we are lost in our minds. And the mental realm is not like the reality we live in, the 3D world. Here we understand the world with our senses. Of course, the mind is what is interpreting what we read with our senses. But the difference is that when you're in the mind, when you're you're lost in your mind, in your mental space, you don't have your senses with you. Unless you're a very, very good visualizer, you can conjure smells and senses, because again, the mind is interpreting those senses. But in most of the time, when we are in our minds, we lose track of time and we feel that we are in an abstract space. So for example, your thoughts are abstractions, right? So as long as you cannot visualize them and feel them with your senses, they're not in your, they create this chaos. So they're not tangible, right? So that's why most of us, when we have too much in our brains, we feel this overwhelm, because we cannot understand what these are. We cannot touch them. We cannot see them. We cannot taste them. So for example, if you have, let's say, 3 projects you're working on, if these projects were, let's say, puzzles, and the physical puzzles, you lay them on the tables, right? You can see this one is a very small puzzle. This one is a big puzzle. You can see the pieces, they are big or small. It's easier for you to understand how hard it is, how much time it will take, or, because you're using your senses, you can visualize it, you can touch it. But if your projects are in your mind, or even if they're written in your to-do list app, it's just, they are all the same. They're project 1, project 2, project 3. It's really hard to visualize and feel their weight in the mental realm. Okay, so it's just, when I say that the mind is a tool, if we use it right, it's going to be super helpful. And then if we, lose ourselves in the mind, then we're totally lost and anxious and stressed. So a physical example of this is our phones, right? So you can get lost in our phones, right? But the phone is a tool. So if you want to make a call, for example, the phone is a very useful tool for that. But here's the thing. when I have clarity about my actions, and then I use the tool, I'm using the tool and the tool isn't using me. So for example, before I pick the phone, I'm like, oh, I need to call Alex. Let me pick the phone and call Alex. I have a purpose, I have a mission, I have a goal, I have clarity. I use the tool. But if I use the tool and then without any clarity, I pick up the tool without any clarity, I'm going to get lost. So this is why getting clarity before anything else is most important. And if you, of course, you know the Lifebook methodology, the PVPS, there's a reason why premise, vision, and purpose come before strategy. We cannot just go and pick the strategies. We're like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to buy this car. I'm going to, get this job. We cannot take the strategies or pick the strategies before we have clarity about what our beliefs are, what is holding us back, what is our vision, what do we really, really want, and what is our purpose, right? So 3 things we focus on to get clarity before we go into strategies. So this is what we're focusing on this week. Okay, so I'm going to also do a quick meditation so we can feel more centered and present in the moment, because clarity cannot come when we're in chaos. Clarity cannot come when we're in the storm. We need to be in the eye of the storm to observe the storm and then to take action and declutter it. So I want you to close your eyes and take a deep breath. And as you exhale, imagine and mentally repeat the number 3 times. I want you to imagine the number 3, okay? Another breath. And as you exhale, imagine the number 2 and mentally repeat the number 2. Say 2, 2, 2, 3 times. One more breath, and this time, as you exhale, imagine and mentally repeat the number 1 3 times. Now softly smile. So your eyelids you feel like there's no tension on your eyelids. And now I'm going to count backwards from 10 to 1. And with each number, you're going to feel that you're at a deeper, healthier level of your mind. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Gently open your eyes and name the first thing you see and name the first thing you touch. Do you feel present and grounded? Now I'm going to repeat some affirmations. Repeat them after me only if they resonate with you. And then I will explain what they mean. Amazing. I have serenity to accept the things that I cannot change. I have courage to change the things I can. And I have wisdom to know the difference. I choose to live one day at a time. I choose to enjoy one moment at a time. I choose to accept what is as the pathway to peace. I choose to accept this world as it is, not as I would have it. I choose to trust that everything will be okay if I surrender. Now, this is the actually prayer, the serenity prayer that I've customized and I repeat every morning. it's very important how we talk with ourselves and how we choose our words. So I've included this in your workbook if you want to use it or adapt it in your own way. Feel free to do so. Now, what's on your mind? Are you feeling stressed or anxious at the moment? Leave some comment. Yes, feeling anxious, Marit, or stressed? Feeling relaxed, that's good. Awesome. Grounded and present. I hope the meditation helped. Great. So when we feel stress and anxiety, you all feel stress and anxiety, right? From different time, from time to time? Do you feel any stress throughout your day? Overwhelmed, yeah. Underlying stress. Oh, sorry, Steph. So what causes this stress or this anxiety? It's actually, it can be many things, obviously, but it's mostly lack of clarity. You see, anxiety, if we look at it as a formula, it's uncertainty times powerlessness. So I want to share, launch a quick questionnaire for you all. If you have the latest version of Zoom, you should see this. I want you to answer, how uncertain do you feel at this moment about the thing that you were working on before this workshop? Maybe right now, most of you feel relaxed, but how uncertain are you? From 0 to 10, 10 being utterly lost. And then how powerless do you feel? 10 being super powerless, 0 being I'm in my power. And then how anxious do you feel? I want you to take those two numbers and multiply them and choose the answer. Do you guys see the poll?
Yes, yes, I can see.
Okay. Because this is only available on for those who have the latest Zoom, I think. Okay, I'm going to end the poll now. And I will share the results. So we have 43% not anxious, 43% fairly anxious. Thankfully, no one's highly anxious. And we have one barely anxious. And I want to ask you, when I posted the poll, do you think that it took us a lot of time? Like how many minutes? Can you say how many seconds or how many minutes did I keep the poll up? Can you guess?
One minute.
It It was over a minute, a little bit over a minute. So I want to also say that our perception of time is definitely relative, but when we're lost in our minds, time just doesn't exist. We feel like we didn't spend that much time thinking, overthinking, but then when we look at our clocks, we see that a lot of time has passed. Well, if I sit in silence right now for an entire minute, you might start feeling bored, because time when we are present is not that fast. So it's very important to be in the present moment to really enjoy our time. So when we're lost in our minds, we're losing a lot of time. Keep that in mind as well. I'm going to launch another poll. Actually, it's a quiz, kind of. I want you to give very short answers. What's on your mind? What does clarity mean to you? How clear are you on your life vision? And how clear are you on your goals? I will end the poll shortly. Okay. Let's see the results. So I'll check the links, the words on my end. For what's on your mind, I see things like time to do all. I'm listening and wondering that I feel relaxed. My trip to Colorado, my newly diagnosed need for back surgery. Ooh, so sorry. Coaching practice and music. Parenting, health, finance, and career are mostly important. All of my to-dos. How to reach my goals. What does clarity mean to you? We have knowing my values and goals, knowing what I have to prioritize, lack of confusion, knowing exactly what to do, know what I want and how to get there, being able to think about one thing at a time. I like that. An action plan, and to know exactly my next step in anything I'm planning to do. Most of you are clear, many of you are clear on your life vision. But as you can see, we have, the majority is around a 6 out of 10. How clear are you on your goals? Again, a 7. Okay, great. So you have a starting point now, right? So what do we do to gain clarity in this case, right? So we said that clarity is knowing what you need to work on, what you need to do to, what you want to achieve actually, right? So we start with what we call a brain dump. What is a brain dump? A brain dump is an activity where you actually dump the contents of your brain onto paper. Again, why are we doing this? Because as we said, things are abstract in our minds and we want to visualize them. The moment you write or even type out your thoughts, you're using your fine motor skills, which actually improve your memory, because when you write something, you're reinforcing that, re-encoding that in your mind. But also what you're doing is you're using sense of touch and you're seeing the words. You're using your vision. So you're already starting to engage with these thoughts more on a sensory level, because again, we are sensory beings. We understand the world with our senses. So the first activity is to do a brain dump. Now, when you do a brain dump, you actually write everything that comes to mind, everything. So I want you to take a piece of paper right now, and I'm going to share my screen with the timer this time. Oh, let's see if I can share the screen. This is awkward today. Okay. Let's see, share screen. Awesome, I think it's working. Okay, go ahead now and write down whatever is top of mind, whatever is on your mind. Write it down until the timer goes off. Write your worries, any commitments. Do you need to call someone? Pens down, time is up. You're going to continue this exercise this week, so no worries. How many things did you write? Wow, nice. 8, 3, 6. It doesn't mean if you write a lot, it means it's not a good thing. It means you have so many things on your mind. But it's good to write them down. Wow. Vinay or Tinu, is that a combination of what you both wrote, or is that one person? 20 items. Great. It's also good that when you write things down, so the exercise we do with the brain dump is that you're writing down what's top of mind, but it doesn't mean that we wrote down everything. That's why the next activity is actually to categorize these. Now, a word of caution about categorizing. I'm an optimization coach and I talk about organization a lot. And I've been obsessed with control and organization for a long time until I started to let go of this, because it's not a good practice. And organization, specifically categorizing, tagging, labeling, can actually be a time thief, right? Because we kind of, procrastinate by organizing sometimes. Of course, we love beauty and we want to have organized environments, right? But the thing is, it's very important to know when to categorize and when not. If categorization is going to be helpful, that's when you need to do it. And in this case, why are we categorizing? Because the moment we start to categorize what we wrote down, we're going to see the gaps. We're going to see what we missed. So what I want you to do is I want to share my screen and show you how you're going to actually use the worksheet I gave you to do this activity during the week. Now, I'm just giving you taste by 1 minute, but you're going to take a lot of time to do this throughout the week. So let me share the spreadsheet. I think it's this one. Yes. So when you open the spreadsheet, you get a link to the workbook as well. And then the first activity we did was the brain dump, right? So you write down all the things, especially commitments. Okay, so things like I need to get a gym membership. It's always on top of my mind. Next Saturday, no, the next one, no, the next one, you know, that kind of thing. So you write these all down. The next activity is the categorization. You just copy these, okay, just copy them and paste them here. And I think I shared the link to the document. You can just go to File, make a copy, so you can have your own copy and work on it. So you paste it here, and then you start copy pasting them where they belong. Now, the grouping is as follows. You have personal commitments. Personal commitments means anything in your lifebook categories, the first five categories, and quality of life and life vision. I've mentioned all of these in the worksheets, workbook, so no need to write them down. Then you have family commitments. This is love, relationships, and parenting. Social commitments, social life, financial commitments, work or career commitments, you know, which categories they are tied to, right? And sometimes you might write something down and you don't know which category it fills in, just write it under other. It's totally fine. Now, the reason we're doing the categorization again is why? Because we want to see where we have gaps. Maybe we have too many personal commitments, but no social commitment or no family commitment. We're going to say, wait a minute, is this even a good thing? Now, you'll say, Anna, I thought we were decluttering. We don't want to add new things, but we are life bookers. We want to make sure that we are taking on commitments to live a 12 category smart life. So we want to revise these, right? And of course, the next activity will be prioritization. But first, we want to revise these. We want to see if we have too many personal commitments or too many maybe family commitments that we don't have any personal commitments. How do we balance them? This is the reason we need the categories. And this will apply, next week, we're going to talk about specific project, and this will apply to those as well. When you feel overwhelmed about the project, you do a brain dump of all the things you think that you need to do. And then when you categorize them, like research, calling people, you know, things like that, you can see where the gap is. You can see where you're spending the most time in. So this is why and where categorization can help. Okay. Any questions so far? Sorry, guys, I'm not following the chat easily, but I'll get back to all those things again later, but keep your questions and I'll get them at the end. So next, after we talk about, we categorize our commitments, we need to prioritize them, right? So what does prioritization mean? Sorry. You know what? I'm going to give you another minute to just categorize what you already wrote down. Let me start the timer again and share my screen while I take a sip of water. Okay, time's up. Were you able to categorize them into the lifebook categories or the ones I've given you, or were you different? Were they different for you? Or was it hard to do that? Suzanne, it's best to write them in two categories, in both categories. Okay, great. Yeah. Always write them in both categories. So now, let's talk about prioritization. I was just checking the comments, okay? Yeah. Any way you like to sort them, it works. So what do we mean by prioritizing? Prioritizing doesn't mean we need to have like a million priorities. Actually, the word priority should be singular, and it had been singular for a long time. But with the information age, we have multiple priorities these days. But what we're doing with prioritization is, first, we're identifying what is essential, not urgent. We'll get to that. But mostly what is essential. If we want to be essentialists, if we want to do less to enjoy the present moment, we want to be essentialists. So what is essential? And then this prioritization is going to help us eliminate all those that are not essential. So let's talk about urgency. What does urgent mean to you? I want to see some answers in the comments. When you say urgent, what do you mean? Strict deadlines immediately right now. It's a priority, must be done, time pressure. That's other qualities of plans. Well, it's time sensitive, right? Based on what most of you said, urgent means time sensitive. Not necessarily. So when something is urgent, it doesn't necessarily need to be important. It can be just time sensitive, but it's not important. And I'll share the worksheet and we'll discuss about it in a bit. But I want to touch on the importance of understanding what urgency means. Urgent means it's time sensitive. It means I need to get it done as soon as possible. And again, the as soon as possible is kind of, the word ASAP has a bad connotation. It means now, but as soon as possible actually says it as soon as possible. It can be like a month later. So as soon as possible doesn't actually mean urgency. Urgency is like real fast. So, but then there's also the illusion of urgency. What is the illusion of urgency? So sometimes we think that something is urgent, but it's just an illusion, it's not. So for example, if you get a notification on your phone right now, or you get an email from your boss, or I don't know, someone, you're like, oh my God, God knows what they want right now. I don't have time for this. You don't even check the email. We don't even check the notification, but we feel this urgency, right? The sense of urgency that I need to check this. Maybe it's urgent. Maybe they need something from me right now. Oh my God, my mom texted me. Maybe she fell. Maybe, all the bad things we start to think about. That's an illusion of urgency. So it's important to understand and define urgency clearly. So let me share my screen again with the prioritization page. So now that we categorized our commitments, we're going to move them to the priority page, prioritization page. Now, I don't have the same examples here because I want to show you what actions we can take based on our answers here. So we'll add our commitments here. We'll just paste them again from the categorization page. Then we're going to answer these questions. Is this urgent? Again, time sensitive. Or do I feel that it's urgent? Why? Ask yourself why a lot. Then, is it important? Important means valuable. Like it might be something that you feel is valuable, but it's not urgent. Like you don't necessarily need to do it now. Essential means necessary. Essential means I need to do this. I want to do this. I choose to do this. It's important for my life book. It's something in my life vision, for my life vision. These are essential things, right? We don't put everything in our life book. So life book can be used as a tool to gauge like what is essential. So if something is just urgent, you can ask, can I delegate this? Like, can someone else do it? And this can be trivial things, mundane things that we really don't like to do. And they are urgent, but they're not valuable to us and they're not essential to our lives, but it might be urgent. Does anyone have an example of a situation like that, for example? Mm-hmm. Do you have any examples? Like something is urgent. Like maybe I spilled the coffee on the floor and I need to clean it at right now, but it's not important to me and it's not essential to me, and it needs to get done, and it's going to take time away from what's essential, what I was focusing on. Maybe someone else can clean it. Maybe I can delegate this. I mean, that's a simplest example, but things like this happen. Sometimes we just like need to throw the garbage. We can ask someone in the household, like, hey, since you're going out, why don't you do this? It's not important, it's not essential to me, but it's thinking. You need to get it out. You know, so there are sometimes things, this happens at work as well. Like your boss wants something urgent and you can ask them, hey, do I really need to do this? I have, you've gave me this other task that is more important right now. And they're like, oh, wait, I can delegate it to someone else. So it's very important to identify that. And yeah, very few things are urgent and very few things should be urgent. So the next one is if something is urgent and important, but it's not essential. Now you say, how can it be important and not essential? Like, in some instances, there are things that are like, it's valuable to me. It's like, I feel it's important, but it's not essential. I can do without. In this case also, you can just delegate it because it's like, it's something important. I really want to, let's say, send a gift card to someone or thank someone. Let's say, you can also delegate it or change it, shift it. So for example, let's say someone did a huge favor to you and you're like, I want to invite them to dinner. I want to invite them to dinner. This is very important. And it's urgent because I need to do it now because because they did this favor and I want to repay them now because later it's like, it doesn't make sense. So you're creating this sense of urgency. You feel that it's important. Again, ask these questions. Is it truly urgent? But it is important, right? But it's like, I can do without it. They're not expecting it. Even if they're expecting it, it's not that important. So in this case, you might say, maybe I can send them a card. Maybe I can do something real quick and get it over with. Like they're not expecting a dinner, right? So why am I making a big fuss of this? So, so this is why this activity is very important because you're not just checking boxes. What you're doing is you're asking the right questions. You're asking questions to identify, is it truly urgent? Is it truly important? Is it essential? And what can I do about it, right? So if it is essential, you'll do it now. If it is essential, doesn't matter what these are, you're going to do it now. Unless it's not urgent, but it's essential and important, then you can schedule it too, right? You don't need to do everything now. You can schedule. And we'll talk about scheduling next week. But this is where I identify you're prioritizing, meaning you're saying, these are the things I need to do now. These are the things I need to do today. These are the things I need to do this week. These are the things I need to do next week, right? So this is what we're doing with prioritization. if you check none of the boxes, or you checked some of the boxes and then your questioning led to say, oh, this isn't urgent, this isn't important. Wait a minute, you can delete it. You can eliminate it. This is how we start the elimination process. And it's hard, it's very hard to really see the truth that something you wanted to do is not that urgent or important. I can say this happens with some YouTube videos for me. I look at, I open YouTube and I'm like, oh my God, this is so amazing. I want to watch this. And it feels urgent, like it touches on something I'm working on right now, maybe this workshop. I need to watch it now. It feels urgent, it feels essential, it feels important. But eventually I take all of them out and I delete it. And then if it's important only, and you don't feel like it's essential, right? This is valuable. It's not like, it can be of value someday. And this is where we start, I think, hoarding resources like, oh, YouTube videos, let's save them. I can watch them later. Ask yourself, why do you think it is important? Is it really important, right? So this is the prioritization activity. Any questions so far? I hope I'm not moving too fast. It's a lot of information, and because we're focusing on clarity, I'm trying to slow down a little bit. And checking the comments. Yes, many urgent things are coming from FOMO. Oh yeah, joy of missing out. This is what we want to do, eliminate. That's actually the next thing we're going to talk about, eliminate. So checking the time, I'm going to see if we have more time to give you a few more minutes I'm going to skip the prioritization for this one because you're going to do these activities later, because I want to leave room for you to share and ask questions in the end. So let's keep moving. And next up, after we prioritize, what do? We just talked about YouTube and all these things, so let's talk about that. We declutter our environments. So what do I mean by this? We have different environments, and I actually want to call some of these environments of mind brains. Okay, there's a term they call it your second brain. This is an idea by Tiago Forte, where he talks about how to systemize writing notes and so on. But I want to talk about the of-mind brain. Why? Because it's not like what we write down or what we put out of our brains is not just notes and links and bookmarks. What we do is, our brains are just for processing ideas. They're not, this is what they say. They say that our brains are not for storing information or too much information, especially at this age, right? So that's why we have notebooks, we have note-taking apps, we have systems like Tiago Forte's system and things like that. So we have all these notes in different places, environments, right? We also have saved links, bookmarks, contacts, contact numbers, right? Address books. What else? YouTube videos, reading lists. We have a lot of books in Kindle and Audible and God knows where, and our shelves, right? So both digitally and offline. So we have a lot of resources that are either that we either don't want to keep in our brains, in our minds, so we put them somewhere external, whether it be a digital place or a physical place. But we also use a lot of apps to do some of the mental work. Like we use the calculator, which is good when we need to, God knows what type of trigonometry stuff, do trigonometry stuff. But when we use it for 11 times 25, well, what are we doing to our brains? right? But we do have these apps as well. So we have a clutter of apps and software and extensions, browser extensions and tools. And we have a lot of libraries, which are YouTube playlists, Instagram collections, Pinterest boards, folders, Kindle libraries, what, you name it, right? Who's guilty of this? Yeah, Beata. Yeah, right. Most of us are kind of, well, it's hard to admit, but we're hoarders. We hoard information or links to information and resources. Yeah, it is a maze. So this is what we want to do this time around. Now, this activity is going to take you weeks, especially if you're like me and you have so many libraries. But if you schedule some time for doing this, it's going to be easier. But now that we have clarity, right? Now that we know our commitments, and what we want to do with our commitment is say, okay, we prioritize them. So we know we have current commitments, things that we're working on today, this week, this month. And then we might have future commitments, things we want to do in the future, written down. Based on those, what we want to do is we want to declutter these environments. Again, you might say, oh, this is a waste of time. And it is actually a lot. It's going to take a lot of time. But if you have the courage to delete them all without taking a look, go ahead and do it. That's a big win. But most of us don't. So we have to go through them. But we want to be sure that we're in a clear mental and emotional state. We don't want to get attached. Okay, attachment is an addiction. We don't want to get attached. Tinu, I'm sorry, but I'm just making suggestions. You're free not to declutter your digital environments or any environment of that sort. But again, if you don't want to touch them, don't touch them. If they don't clutter your mind, if they don't cause any issues, like any stress, ignore them. That's fine too. Just archive, close your account, or deactivate your account, do whatever. Yes. Good job, Beata. She deleted all her watch later YouTube. That's exactly what we're going to do with decluttering. That's exactly what we want to do with digital decluttering. Yeah, that's the thing. It's, if you see, that's the difference. See, the mind and the digital spaces cause us stress. Why? Mostly because they are not tangible. As we said, the less senses we use, and that's why I felt I've explored a lot of apps. I've tried to use a lot of apps. I'm like, doesn't feel right. It feels like I don't have things on top of mind, even if they're organized in notes and Evernote or whatever type of notes. Because I can't see them, I can't visualize them. Remember the puzzle example? Imagine if you have 50 real books in your apartment and you don't have the shelf for it. You're going to get rid of it. You're going to find a place for it. But you can have like 2,000 books in Kindle. And if it doesn't stress you or feels overwhelming, it's okay. But if it's a stress, if it adds to the clutter, like, oh my God, all the books I have to read still, then you have a problem. That's when you do the decluttering. Now, I think we're running short on time. I'm gonna hurry a little bit. Let's share my screen again. So how do we do the decluttering? Oops. Where is it? This one. Okay. Can you see the decluttering page? It has the categories. Okay, great. So the way I like to do this is using the Lifebook categories. Under each category, I want you to write, I have a list of all the things I want you to write in the workbook here. So let me go to the workbook and show you here. So you list all the apps on your phone under each category they're relevant to. If they touch 10 categories, you write them under the 10 categories. Okay. All the software and tools on your computer, all the web apps. Again, I'm telling you, this is going to take weeks. It's not for this week. It's going to take weeks and months. If you want to do this, go ahead and do it. If not, it's optional again, but it's a huge relief. So then you want to list the libraries, not the content, the libraries. Like, do you have a YouTube watch list? Do you have YouTube playlists? Just say YouTube playlists. Don't list all the playlists. Pinterest boards, yes, say I have Pinterest boards. Instagram collections. If you have specific boards for each category, then write down under each one, Pinterest board, etc. So what you're doing here is you're gonna write, even if you have notebooks, physical ones, write them down. Books that you want to read, write them down. So the first part is we're just doing like a decluttering here. We're just adding all the things under the relevant categories. Next, we're going to do is we're going to eliminate them. So here's where it will take you more time. Like the first part, it's easier to do, right? This is easy. You're just listing things down. You just open your phone and write the apps down. But then the elimination is about asking questions. Again, this is why the mind is a powerful tool. It's always about asking the questions, asking the right questions. Life is all about asking questions, by the way. So if you ask the right questions, they're good for you. So we want to ask questions like, how often do you use this app? Have you used it in the past year? Just delete it. What is its role? So one thing I do is I actually ask, what is the role of this app or this device? Every time I want to purchase a new app or a device, I say, what role do I want it to play? Like, give it a job description. It can multitask. Obviously, that's why we use devices and not our minds for too many things. But what are the different job descriptions for this device? Do I have another device or app that does this job? Then why do I need this? And start eliminating. So yeah, you have all the questions here. So I'm going to go real quick here. We don't have too much time. And the last activity is the power of 12 activity. Now, we've identified all the commitments that were top of mind. We shouldn't have anything that worries us in our brains because we have identified all the commitments and we make sure that they're categorized and prioritized. So we shouldn't have anything to worry about. So the moment you're like, wait a minute, why am I worried? Something new come up, you do a brain dump and you do the same activity. After that, and again, the digital declutter is a separate kind of project that will help you. Again, they say as within, so without. So you want to make sure that your physical environment and digital environments are clean, so your mind is clean and calm. The last thing we do is we use the power of 12 exercise, which is something that John actually mentioned in one of his podcasts with Jordan River a few years ago. So what we're doing is we're taking each strategy or even each app, each tool, each commitment, whatever feels right, and you write it down here. And you can duplicate this page or just copy the content and paste it here and reuse it, or maybe even delete and reuse them. So what you're doing is you're choosing a strategy. Here is what we did. We did the PVPS kind of thing. We got the clarity. Now we're choosing a strategy. So this is the tool you use when you want to choose the right strategy. And then you list all the strategies, the different strategies, right? I'm choosing a strategy for, let's say you want to go from point A to point B. You need a vehicle. You write all the strategies, the ones that you're considering, like I'm considering buying 4x4, but then all the other options. But I might get a sports car. Maybe a bike can do the job. Maybe a scooter can do the job. I don't know. Maybe I don't even need it. Remember, use logic. Every time you say something, want to make sure that you add the exact opposite. If you say it's, I want to buy a vehicle, then the opposite is, I don't want to buy a vehicle, or I don't need to buy a vehicle. And then what you want to do is you want to check the boxes for each of the categories that this strategy aligns with. or this tool you're going to buy, etc. So now let's say you're choosing a career opportunity, right? You want to make sure that it aligns with your health and vision. You want to make sure it aligns with all of the other categories, obviously, love and relationship, mostly parenting, etc. So whatever you pick, right? And then you have another opportunity, let's say, and you check this one, and then, oops, let's fix the formula. And then you compare them, right? You see which one aligns, which strategy aligns with the most categories. Then this is a decision-making framework, kind of, right? Because we want to live 12 category smart lives, right? And as in the intellectual category, we want to say, okay, 12 category smart. What does it mean? It means my strategies, any strategy that I pick aligns with the most categories possible. And you can tweak them. Like, let's say you listed all these cars and whatnot, right? You can change some of the strategies with these. Like, the car is a specific example. So for example, you might say, it's not good for my health and fitness to get a car. Obviously, it doesn't apply to all categories, and some of the strategies won't. So that's also fine. But let's say I had this example with someone, because that's why I'm giving the example of the car. They wanted to pick a sports car. I was like, wait a minute. Why are you doing this? You want to have kids. This isn't helpful for the parenting. It's just a two-seater. So what we ended up doing was that we said, wait a minute, we don't want to compromise your dream. You want to have a sports car, but the kids will come like at least 9 months, right? So we agreed that he would get the sports car for a few months, and then get a used car, obviously, and then sell it, and then get a family car when it's needed. So you can, it doesn't mean that when you choose a strategy, it doesn't mean that you're like, oh no, this doesn't work. Maybe it can work for a short time. Maybe it can, you can tweak it. So this is also a powerful tool to use to live a 12 category smart life. And I've been talking way too much. So I think this is it. Let me check my slides and notes. There's so much going on here, I know. We have all the ideas and all the notes and all the guides in the workbook. So the task for you this week is to actually do this challenge, do everything that was listed in the workbook and everything we covered today. So let me know if you have any questions, or if anyone wants to share anything at the end, please raise your hand. I'm going to check the notes, the chat here. You're welcome, Tino. Yeah, this is only the start. So next week, around this time, maybe an hour earlier, we'll have our second session. So this is there will be 4 sessions. We're going to take this further, right? We just got clarity and we defined our commitments. Next, we want to know, how do we, focus on them? How do we plan them, right? How do we plan and identify how we want to schedule them and work on them? The third one is going to be about action and process. Like, how do we take action? Why do we procrastinate? How can we not procrastinate and track our progress? And the last session will be about systemizing things and automating things and the tools we want to use. So the aim of this entire challenge, you guys, is for us to get that clarity, again, the PVP, make sure and use that. I mean, use the PVPS with any project, any kind of goal you have. It really works. What we're saying is gain the clarity before choosing the strategy, before setting the goals. The Lifebook methodology is actually perfectly created that way, right? We do the life vision, which is the clarity, we choose the strategies, and then we do the planning with the funnel of focus and the goals. So these are the steps. And the following sessions are mostly going to be focused on The book Effortless. Today we were focusing on essentialism a little bit, and the following ones will be also focused on Effortless, again by Greg McGowan, because we want to make sure that we are in the moment, we are present, we are clear, we are enjoying what we do, because we are human beings, not human doing. So we want to, but we want to experience this life by doing things. So we want to make sure that our actions are effortless and we get effortless results while we're enjoying the moment. I hope you found this session helpful, and I want to see you sharing in the comments of this event or the mega post that I've created during the week. If you have any questions about this, or if you're stuck with one of the worksheets, or if we even have ideas on how we can improve them or improve this entire process. I also want you to share if you're actually doing the challenge. I want to see you in the comments, and thank you so much for joining. Last chance if anyone wants to share something or say something before we sign off. Awesome. Thank you, everyone.